Welcome to Land the House. I'm Seth. A couple months ago, I was asked to make a video showcasing my life, whether it be a draw my life or just a stand in front of the camera and talk to you about stuff kind of video. And so I actually sat down with one of those whiteboards and started drawing out stuff and realized quickly I'm terrible at drawing. So I quickly moved on to just sitting down on my workbench, and I actually wrote out 2 pages of notes that I wanted to talk about. And I started editing that video and thought, man, this is terrible. I was gonna do cut scenes for every new point, and quickly remembered why I don't just stand in front of the camera and give a speech. So I thought I would just do a one-take wonder, turn on the camera and start talking. Now if this gets close to 30 minutes, I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it, but I don't think we'll get that far. Also, I don't know if you can see it, but it's 36 degrees in here, so I don't wanna be standing here for too long. But all right, so let's get started. First thing I wanna say is, you'll notice in a lot of my videos, I talk like this, and it's like a long pause between thoughts. It's not because I'm doing it for dramatic effect, it's because that's how slow my mind works. Oftentimes in my videos, I will do a like 3 or 4 takes on a scene, not because I'm messing up what I'm doing, but because I'm thinking so slowly, or at least speaking so slow when I think of something. Okay, so let's begin with early life. I was born in Mississippi, a really small town. Not exactly sure the number, but pretty small. And had great parents, great grandparents, and pretty much the whole family lived within about an hour, maybe 2 hours from each other. So pretty close family. Grew up in church. But I have to say I was quite a hateful child. My mom will definitely agree with that statement. So I would do things like try to cut my sister's fingers off with hedge trimmers, and throw cats off the roof. Just the usual 5-year-old boy kind of stuff. I don't do that now though, thankfully. My sister recently said she's glad that I turned out to be a much better adult than I was as a child. So, but yeah, so young age, I pretty much just would wear my rubber boots and go out to the swampland and get leeches and snakes and turtles and all that good stuff. We actually kept 2 turtles alive for, I'm gonna say, 6 or 7 years. Later on, my brother actually let them out in the desert and they dried out, but anyway. That's a story for later. Let's see, homeschooled. So I actually had a very hard time in school all the way up until college. My birth apparently was really long and didn't get a lot of oxygen, so doctors were saying he'll probably never be able to finish school and all this stuff, but I did. But that being said, I didn't really learn to read till I was about 10. And so that kind of set me back pretty good in schoolwork. Definitely learned in that time to do more hands-on stuff instead of written. So that's the kind of the early school situation there. Luckily, my mom was a special education instructor and kind of knew the tricks of the trade to help me succeed in my the areas that I had trouble in. So we actually moved, well, let me first say my mom's parents were farmers, and so I got to kind of grow up on a farm riding tractors and seeing how cotton was grown, harvested, and all that. So just kind of fun. And my dad's parents were in the city, so I kind of had a good combination of city life and not city life. My grandparents actually had a computer. Anyway, just kind of fun there. So when I was 6, we moved to New Mexico. How's time? 5 minutes. Moved to New Mexico, Roswell actually, where all of the aliens are. And so it was kind of tough going from Mississippi, where I had 2 or 3 good friends, to New Mexico, where I had nobody. The reason we moved was because of my dad's job as a pharmacist. He was at a very, very small hospital and went to a rather large hospital in Roswell. So we lived there from when I was 6 until almost 12. Then we moved up here. But we went to a really small church, and I made 1 friend in that long period that we were there. And I had some acquaintances like my soccer buddies and stuff, but I learned that I didn't really enjoy hanging out with people, and it was really difficult to make friends. I would try some, but was just really bad at it. So I spent a lot of time riding our 3-wheeler out through the desert and looking for new and exciting things. We could ride for miles in the middle of nowhere. My parents had 21 acres, and when you're in the desert and you can see for 50 miles, 21 acres is not a lot, but it was enough to for a young kid to go around looking for ants and lizards and whatever other things we would do. Continued to struggle in school. Discovered I was also bad at math. That's why I never do math on camera. But I did do some fun things with homeschool groups. We had art classes out, and really got involved with soccer. It was just the county league, and played years and years there. So anyway, we moved up to North Carolina. Once again, it was my dad's job. He was burned out with a big hospital and wanted to go somewhere a lot smaller. So we came up here to the mountains. I really started developing hobbies and things that I enjoyed here. My mom and I went into a small outdoor gear store, and Mom was like, "Here, this kid needs a job." And so I was actually hired at 15, and I was paid in gear since I was too young to actually make a paycheck. But worked there until 2007, so quite a long time. I discovered the gym and really enjoyed working out. We did some of that in Roswell, but I mean, at 12, you're not really supposed to work out anyway. So I did a lot of that. I bought my first kayak from the outdoor store that I was working at. And there's a lot of rivers around here, and I did a lot of kayaking. Got into bicycle riding, and that was lots of fun. So when the age of college started approaching, my parents thought it would be a really good idea for me to try dual enrollment. And I have to admit that going to that structured college setting really helped me to begin developing my social skills and my just my learning in general. I had a decent learning experience in North Carolina. Just started getting better. I could read. How are we doing? 8 minutes. Oh man, we're doing really well. So hobbies. I did a lot of bike riding. There's a place close to here that plays, there's a bunch of guys that get together and play soccer. And it started off as kind of a commune. It's really crazy, but people were in the nude running around playing soccer. Luckily I got here much later than that, and it's just a bunch of guys playing soccer, fully clothed. So when I went to the community college, I started deciding, I like certain areas of things better than others. I actually took a marketing course, which I, looking back, would have liked to have taken more of. It was early marketing, so like magazines and TV. The internet was just kind of coming out, for me anyway, in that 2002 area. So anyway, whenever I was in school, I took electronics courses and got I got associate in art, associate in electronics, and then finally went to university and got my degree in biomedical engineering. So I've really enjoyed the science aspect of school. So life after, okay, so dating life. Maybe you want to hear about that. Probably not. I didn't date till I was 21. I just didn't have friends, male or female. And although I wanted to date, I just didn't take the time to pursue that. So dated this one girl for about 2 or 3 years, and then broke up, dated a couple more people in the middle of that. And then finally Ashley came along. Funny story. So she worked at a grocery store, and apparently I had been through the store several times, and she was like, man, who is that? So a friend of hers said, you should distract him. So she got the idea that maybe she should throw down a DVD that she was supposed to be stocking, and I would be like, oh, you dropped it, let me pick that up for you. So but what happened was, me and my oblivious mind, she drops this DVD, and I'm like, whoa, just step around her and keep walking. She's like, gosh, this guy is dense. I don't think her opinion has changed much since that moment. Okay, so kind of more recent events. I, after college, thought, man, I'm gonna buy some land. I've been saving up for like most of my life. And I'm like, I'm gonna buy some land, and I'm going to build a tiny house, and I'm gonna farm the land, and I'm gonna live off-grid. It's gonna be amazing. So when Ashley and I started dating, she was like, I don't really care much for tiny houses. So we lived in an apartment for a couple years, and then we decided it's time to build our house here on the property. And we decided to go with the modular home because it was quicker. Took us about 5 months instead of a year at least to actually build a house. 12 minutes. Nice. So my plans as a young man changed quickly, but I did manage to buy almost 10 acres right here. And a lot of people have actually wondered about this place over the years. The ponds down here, the roads, all the rock work that you see, this was a giant scam, scam. So a group of guys got together and bought this place, about 2,000 acres, and they divided it and started selling off to these people in Florida and places who have never been up here. And they're like, man, this is the next big thing. And the people that would come up here would see spec houses on big signs, and you have golf carts, they drive you around, and there was lemonade and all this stuff that just made it look really nice. So people were buying lots for like $200,000, just a phenomenal amount. Then they would take the land, one of their lawyers and their surveyors would cut a road or separate a lot and resell it. So they were making, you know, $400,000 or $500,000 off an acre, which is just, it's really sad. But so finally they caught the main guy. He's sitting in prison as far as I know, and I think tax evasion is the reason they put him in prison. But all this land, about 2,000 acres, went under foreclosure eventually. Some of it's still going, but I think most of it has been sold now. So I was able to get my almost 10 acres for dirt cheap. And if it had been for that, there's no way I could have bought land around here. My brother and I once drove to a lot. It was 2 acres for $30,000. I was like, maybe I won't buy land after all. But so anyway, that's how the land came about. And you know about our house, which if you want to watch the house series, there's 50-something videos on how that was installed. So life since the house came in has just been escalating quickly. We now have Emma, which is amazing. She's quite taxing, but still she's great. And we've got our new little boy on the way, should be here in February. So let's just talk about random stuff. My work. I worked at that outdoor store for several years. I'm gonna say 6 years maybe. And then moved over to the job I've got now, which I've had for about 12 years. It's working with adults with developmental disability. This week actually, I am working 80 hours, exhausted. But it's gonna pay off some pretty good bills. So I really enjoyed this job, and it has done well, but without my other incomes, I would not be able to afford the lifestyle that we have here. So I started making YouTube videos Actually, I opened a channel, or started a channel in 2008, I think it was. That channel, I don't talk about it, there's like 2 videos there. Then I started my second and third channels, and I've got maybe 2,000 subscribers there with, I'm gonna say 20 videos maybe. That one did okay. One of the videos is a Scooby-Doo film, and I just checked, it has close to 900,000 views, which is ridiculous. 15 minutes, oh, we're still doing great. So then I met this guy. His name was Brian. Should I say Brian? His name was Brian. And he showed me how to make a WordPress site. He showed me some about like keywords and a lot of video editing style. Just a really intelligent guy, but the problem was he lacked motivation. He was like, man, we could do this and this and this, and he'd plan and plan and plan, and he would write backstories and all this stuff, and then he's like, nah, we won't do that. So I quickly realized that his personality was going to clash pretty serious with mine. So we had started a small business called Homemade Volts. That's my 4th channel, and then my 5th YouTube channel, I think it's got maybe like 300,000 or 400,000 views on it, so not much, but they were all related to that Homemade Volts deal. So I started Land a House kind of based on the Homemade Volts idea, and it was just going to be kind of a catch-all for my life. And then I discovered the ram pump because I was growing a garden that was about 8 by 8, so pretty small, and I was carrying 2 5-gallon buckets from the creek up to water the garden, and like within a week I was done with that. So I went on YouTube and typed in water pump, like off-grid water pump, and bam, ram pump came up. So built one, worked amazing. And then Brian and his dad are like, man, you ought to package those up and sell them as a kit. And I was like, psh, that's ridiculous. Nobody would buy a water pump. Well, I decided to go ahead and do it. And there was a fellow in the South, which is to say Mississippi, and he called me. He's like, hey, wanting to buy your water pump, but your website's not working. So like, okay. So luckily he was a very patient guy, and I troubleshooted with him why my site wasn't working, and sold my first water pump. And I was like, huh, well, that was fun. You can make in a day what you could do, or you can make in like an hour what you could make in a day working another job. So I was like, okay. So I started packaging up ram pumps and selling them. And the first year I might have sold 10, maybe 15. And the sales just kept going up, which has been so helpful for just our lifestyle here. But so water pumps really helped boost Land a House. And so the YouTube channel came along, and I started posting videos. And I just checked, and I'm just a couple shy of 900 of them in since 2015. So I have really been pumping out some videos. But I was doing the math this morning, and I started the channel in 2015, and in 2016 I was able to monetize. The money that came in from 2015 versus 2016 was 50% better. So I guess doubled. Anyway, so then I just checked the math from last year into this year, and it is 60% better. So apparently the more you post, your videos scale really well with money. So if you're thinking about making a channel, do it. And just post a lot of content, and it'll just take off eventually. Because the first year of my channel, I mean, we're talking 50 subscribers, finally got up to 500, I think, in the like year and a half. And then now we're at 40,000. So definitely has taken off a lot. So that's kind of the story between ram pumps and Land a House. So my most recent venture is Amazon sales, and I don't have one of the pads out here with me, but my sleeping pad, which I will have a link in the description down below, is now up, and I've been selling a few of those. I think it's going to be more of a summertime deal than a wintertime, so I'm kind of expecting a little lull here. And then I'm about to start selling trekking poles as well with the Land House logo on it. So stay tuned for that. So that's kind of my work history. Let's see. That's about it for my money channels. I'm actually now posting videos on Dailymotion and also on YouGetTube. So they should be monetized pretty soon as well. So I figured if I've got 900 videos, I might as well share them on all these platforms and start bringing in some cash. 21 minutes. Okay, let's wrap this up for this long video. What's left to say? Built this shop. That's really exciting. Hopefully you have watched some of those videos. I intend on building a retaining wall out back. I'm going to build a four-wheeler and lawnmower shed, build a carport, and then hopefully do some gardening. And just I got tons of ideas, but no money or time. I'm sure you know how that feels. I'd love to have faster internet out here. I'm paying the best service we can get right now is 100 down and 5 up. So I'd like to talk to the provider and see if I could like pay an extra $20 or something and get like 10 up. That would be really awesome. So I can start doing some live streams. But okay, that's it. No cuts, just a one-take wonder. And hopefully you have enjoyed this. If you've got some questions, write those down below. As the channel is growing, I'm finding it harder and harder to respond to comments. Oh, sorry, I ate some eggs and they're coming back up. You didn't need to know that. So it's harder and harder to respond to the comments. I think I'm about 100 behind right now. And every month my YouTube app like starts sloughing off the back end, so I lose some comments, but I need you to sit down and take care of that. Okay, yeah, leave me some comments. I love to read them, and if you got some suggestions for the channel, I'd love to hear that as well. So thanks for listening to this rant, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.